listener. Yes, I'm talking to you. Welcome to the Into the Itoverse podcast, where I, your diligent and obsessed host, talk to you about Junji Ito and things reminiscent of or related to the works by Junji Ito. My name is Rika, and I just want to thank you for listening. I hope you like what you hear and want to stick around for more. So I first discovered Junji Ito my freshman year of college. This was back when I was still on Tumblr, so 2011, 2012. I stumbled upon a work about children whose skin and muscles hardened and turned them into living dolls. And I thought that the art style was so unique, and the story itself was nasty. The very idea of becoming a prisoner in your own body in that particular way, which we'll discuss further, but it rattled me. But as it was Tumblr, where I first read this story, I read it and then I kept scrolling. It wasn't until I came across a particular work that I got the name of the artist. That work was The Enigma of Amigara Fault, which, if you're listening to this, chances are you also know that work. That's arguably one of Junji Ito's most well-known pieces. I would say of all time, but a lot of people do know Uzumaki and Tomie and all of those works. But as far as his shorter stories go, most people know Enigma of Amigara Fault. But reading Amigara Fault set into motion what I can only assume will be a lifelong addiction to Junji Ito's works. But that's okay, you know, because now I can give you content like this. But when I first was getting into Junji Ito, I read everything that I could find a scanlation of, which back in 2012 and that time period was a lot easier. I haven't actually gone out of my way to try to find scanlations of Ito's work, but I have heard that since Viz bought the rights to the official English translation of his works, they've really cracked down on finding those scanlations. So I'm sure that they exist, but the official stance here on Into the Itoverse is if you can, just buy the officially translated Viz editions of Ito's work. They are so well done. It is, at least for me, it is a worthwhile investment. But I mention Viz Media buying the official rights for the English translations because I have noticed they changed the titles of some of the stories. So the story I was going to talk about today, I originally knew as Hello Dollies, kind of a play on words, so hell hyphen O, hello. But the official title, which this story can be found in the, I believe it was produced, or it was made in 2013, but the Frankenstein story that Ito did. So Ito has done a few manga adaptations of other stories, and I highly recommend the Frankenstein. Honestly, it's so creepy, it's so good. But in the Frankenstein book, there are a few of his other shorter stories as well, which we will talk about them. But Hello Dollies that I'm talking about today in this book is called The Hell of the Doll Funeral. So when instances like this come up where I know it as a different title, I will let you know the working titles that I saw in scanlations versus what is the, official title. Alright, that's enough preamble. Let's get into this story. So this is one of the works where there isn't like a kind of like a cold open, which Ito does do that, but this one just starts up right off the bat. The first image that we see is of two eyes. Ooh, but there's something off about them. But we see a dreary rain. Actually, it's more than rain. It's like a thunderstorm scene. So we see some sound effects of the rain sounds and of the thunder of the lightning. And it says, "How can this be? The thing I feared has become reality. In the end, my daughter too. The signs of dollification. Dun dun dun. And then the next page, we see his daughter. And she says, "Daddy, why are you so scared?" And it's to be noted, she looks very much like a porcelain doll. Like her eyes are very wide. You can see the beginnings of lines next to her mouth, like where in dolls where they can open and close their mouth. You see joints, so there's the ball joint in her elbow, and you can see all the lines signifying the movable joints on her arms and on her fingers. And so the narration is done by her father, who just looks behind him at her through his eyes, terror clear and evident on his face, where he says, "Yes, there's no mistake. Her skin has hardened. Cracks have appeared at her joints, giving rise to boundaries. Her face lacks real expression. Her eyes don't focus. Daddy?" In the faint boundary lines at her jaw. It's nothing, Marie." But you can tell he is severely losing his shit, which, I mean, understandably, like, your daughter is turning into a doll. That's pretty messed up. And then it kind of sets the scene as to how this has happened. According to a certain institute's survey, I like according to a certain institute's survey, like we're supposed to know which one that is. 30% of the world's children are currently dollifying. And then the next panel, we hear a scream, "Ah! Honey!" And it's the man's wife, and she is crying. She's looking at Marie, and she's saying, "Marie's completely a doll now. Look at her. She's not moving at all. She's not responding to me at all." And it's true. She's just kind of, the mother is just kind of holding Marie and like clutching at her, but it is very clear. The boundary lines around her jaw are clearer, and the ball joints that were starting earlier are much more prominent. Like, she genuinely does look like a marionette doll, almost like a cross between a porcelain and a marionette doll. We see a shot of what Marie looked like before she became a doll. It's in a little picture frame she has a cute little smile. And the mother continues to say, "Our beautiful daughter, she's never going to smile for us again. Honey, I can't anymore." But Marie is not dead. That's setting the scene. So she is a doll, but she is not dead. The mother says, "She doesn't say anything, but she's right there. She'll stay adorable. She'll never age." And so the father tries to see the bright side. "You're right. That's right. Most people cremate their children when they dollify, but I can't understand that. We'll keep Marie with us." So when he talks about the people cremating their children, we see a almost like an oil barrel or something like that, with a pyre going on inside, and two gaunt looking parents. They have lines around their eyes. They've seen some shit. They've seen their child turn into a doll. But yeah, so it's setting the stage that a lot of these, like 30% of the world's population of children are turning into dolls. And some parents choose to cremate their child because, I mean, honestly, what would you do if your child turned into a doll? Like, I guess they're still alive, but they can't respond to you. I would imagine they would starve to death if they can't move their mouths. I don't even know if they'd be able to breathe. I mean, again, we're going to suspend some belief because this is a Junji Ito story, but, you know, some of those thoughts cross your mind. And the father continues to narrate. Though some time passes, But eventually, we came to understand the feelings of the parents who burned the dolls. Oh, and we see Marie, and she has cracks in her skin. She's looking like she's not looking great. I think the cracks are supposed to show, like, perhaps she is starting to rot. It's getting pretty gnarly. It's awful. And the father says, the changes in her body didn't stop there? And then we see the next panel, and it's Marie is continuing to change, and she is getting nasty. So her skin it's almost like it's dry, like her skin is desiccating and cracking, and her mouth is just like almost reminds me of Predator, like just the opening flap that at one point was her bottom jaw. But her teeth also look like pins there. I don't know what happened to her teeth. And the father is sweaty, the mother is sweaty, they're both concerned. And the father says, we should cremate Marie. And the mother says, yes. Turning the page, and this is our last page. We can't let anyone see her like this. Our poor Marie. And oh boy. Do these children not decay nicely? Let's break down what I am currently looking at. So in the bottom, you can see something wearing a dress. And I say something because this is like, oh gosh, it's gross. So her like body is almost like furry, but also scaly. And her fingers kind of turned into these like long tendrils that are like clutching at her stomach. And they're just like wicked long sticks. And that's not even the worst part, man. So as I said, her arms and her chest are like scaly and dry, but also furry. But then her neck, and oh lord, her neck. So her neck is coming out in like segments, and it looks like a big long bug, like a centipede. Its legs are all crooked, and you can imagine that they're like twitching around. You can probably hear like a like imagining if it was like running around, and it's just like twisting and wiggling around, like if you step on a centipede or something and it doesn't kill it and it just kind of like wriggles around. That's what it looks like. But that's her neck, and then it leads up to her head. And oh boy, her mouth is gone. Her teeth are like super sharp. I'm trying to place what kind of teeth they are, but I think it's not reminiscent of like animal. It's more like almost like a cryptid. And then she has these long tentacles coming out of her mouth. They're like, you can tell that they're probably segmented, and so they're more like worms as opposed to like an octopus or a cuttlefish tentacle. So they're just kind of like worms coming out of her mouth, and her face is still like that dry, crusty, scaly looking texture, and her eyes are bulging out with these long lashes. Oh man. So for those who are just listening, this image is gross. This image is nasty, man. But for those who might be watching the video that I put on YouTube, I'll show you guys the picture. But yeah, so this is an incredibly short Ito work, but that is the first piece of Ito's that I read. And you have to remember, I hadn't seen work, like manga that looked exactly like this. Like, I know that there's horror manga, but nothing that like really looked like this. I mean, we all know Junji Ito has a very unique style in his work, and it definitely makes it stand out because when he draws people, like just normally, like even his like more normal, so not trying to be horror style, it's still very unique. But then you get the horror, so like I was describing the picture of how Marie looked. It's very detailed. It gives you a visceral reaction. It's a lot of body horror, which I find very interesting. So yeah, I saw this. I just stumbled on this while I was on Tumblr, probably looking at some Harry Potter posts, and I was like, yo, what? What? But Junji Ito wasn't in the tags, and I didn't know anything. All I knew was that I saw this weird ass manga, and it stuck with me. But then I found Amigara Fault on Tumblr a little bit later, and I found out the artist, and here we are. However many years later. Oh fuck, maybe. Maybe I've had Junji Ito. I've been simping for this man for 10 years now. Damn, it could very well. No, not 10 years, not yet. So, thank you for sticking around if you have. This is a very short work. It's only a few pages. Other works that I may cover are going to be longer, so you might have episodes that are closer to an hour, but this one's going to be a little bit short. I hope that you enjoyed spending some time with me in my little solo Junji Ito book club. If you have any questions, comments, or little anecdotes that you want to share, you can send them to Into the Itoverse, all one word, at gmail.com. So, once again, that is Into the Itoverse, ITOVERSE, at gmail.com. Hope to see you next time. Don't turn into a doll. Ooh. Alright, okay, I'm gonna go. Bye.